So this episode opens with an absolute bang, very much giving truth to the fact that in this show, nobody's good, nobody's bad, everybody's gray. Daemon, who up to this point has been a little agitating, jostling edgelord trying to get his big bro's attention, hasn't outright done anything horrifyingly evil or amazingly good. You don't know where he's coming from. And here, rides his dragon, pops over to the Vale where his wife of many, many years, Rhea Royce, catches her. So he stalks her. Even though he's not been around, he knows her patterns to go out hunting by herself, stalks her, hunts her down, and kills her ass. Does the whole thing without saying a friggin' word, which I think is, not a dig against Matt Smith's acting at all, but much like when he was in the Stepstones and he had that awesome friggin' action scene, much like that. He's at his best when he's just being ominous and not saying a word. So he takes her out. She's dead. Then we cut over to Viserys and his party on a boat. They're going somewhere. Where could they be going? A couple of notable things in this scene. One, he looks worse than ever. He's puking over the side. The other thing is Otto Hightower got the boot last episode, so there needs to be a new hand. Lionel Strong, this guy who probably most people watching the show are like, oh yeah, that guy. He's been kind of hanging around. He was at the table in the small council. What he's been doing up to this point is popping up and giving some like real bro advice to the king. Usually when somebody says something smart, gives good advice to the king, cuts through all the bullshit, it has been Lionel Strong up to this point. So possibly a good choice is his hand. You want to keep an eye on the Strong family. We have seen his brothers and family up to this point. They haven't been, spotlight thrown on them. But Rhaenyra, for example, when she's walking back covered in boar blood, dragging the boar with her, there's that one homeboy that's looking at her with the beard. And he looks like he's just ready to pounce. He's so friggin' turned on. Then, same episode, you have the club-footed gentleman, the limping guy, Larys, comes limping in, uses his handicap as an excuse to pop a squat down where all the ladies of the realm are sitting and gossiping and talking. What could he be doing there? So you want to keep an eye on the Strong family. Up to this point, they have not stood out really much at all. But now, I'm telling you, you want to keep an eye on them. Then we have a real quick scene in the rain at the gates of King's Landing. Otto Hightower, after having been giving the boot last episode by Viserys, has packed his shit and he's out. First of all, respect for packing so light. I mean, he's a lordly gentleman and yet he's got everything just in one. He's got his shit in one sack. So good for him. This scene is very important because up until now, Otto Hightower has been cast in the light of a scheming, vicious, backstabbing. Basically, he's been cast as the Jafar, the nefarious guy behind the curtain. The interesting thing about the scene is he actually is able to get his perspective out there to his daughter. He sees what's coming. He's one of the few people that has such a clear vision of what's going to happen. Viserys, by being a weak king, by dithering, by remarrying and not outright saying, this is my heir, this is the way it's going to be, he's laid the groundwork for a friggin' conflagrant shit's going to blow up. And Alicent, up to this point, little girl in a world surrounded by adults, even though she's been the queen for years and been popping out babies, you can tell that she has not considered the fact that Otto lays out for her. Viserys ain't long for this world. When he goes, shit's going to blow up. It's basically going to come down to the Alicent's kids or Rhaenyra. From this point, throughout this episode and throughout this series, we're going to see Alicent. You can tell she's really changed. She's got a determined and a scared as fuck look in her eyes. She understands what's coming and she's actually starting to make some moves toward helping her children. So Otto, evil, nefarious, bad guy. Yeah, but he's fighting for his grandkids. He's fighting for his family. He's doing what anybody in that situation probably would do. Then we are back at Driftmark. You can tell that when the procession ends up in the courtyard and there's really not any kind of greeting for him, you can tell that Viserys, he's got that look in his eye where he knows he's going to have to eat a little bit of shit because even though he's the king, he's kind of coming here as a supplicant. He's the one instigating, making up the divide that's been between House Valerion and House Targaryen for years and years at this point. You can tell just in the way he looks at the situation and the way he reacts to it. He knows he's going to have to eat a little bit of crow here, but he's willing to do it for the good of the realm. Lena Valerion, she grew up like a motherfucker. She looks good. She reminds me of Storm from the X-Men. So that's nice. You get introduced to Lena Valerion, his best buddy. Aren't they good friends? Look at them playing with their swords in the courtyard. One other thing that kind of leaped out at me, it looked cool as hell with all those dry autumn leaves all over the ground and blowing through all the screenshots, but there ain't a damn tree in sight. Where the hell did all those leaves come from? And then you get Corlys and Viserys squaring off against each other in the throne room. We finally get a look at that driftwood throne. When these two are squaring off, they both know what they're there for. They're both negotiating, trying to get out of it what they can. I thought it was kind of interesting seeing them both in the same frame. Corlys is kind of a big dude, especially when standing in front of Viserys, and Viserys is looking all sickly and hunched over. So that was kind of interesting. Viserys concedes the point, says, all right, your kids can be Valerians, but, and he gets his own little concession out of it. He says, upon assuming the throne, the kid's going to be Targaryen. Ain't no getting around that. So a meeting of the minds. They come to an agreement. Everybody's happy. Good things are going to go from here on out, right? Right. One other thing that kind of leaped out at me is up till now, we've seen Rhaenys in her courtly gowns in like the king's cousin hanging around King's Landing. But here she is in her home, and she's definitely dressed a lot more casually. She's wearing pants, something you really don't see a lot of women doing in this show, especially courtly women. Basically, they're hinting at what they have yet to show in the series so far. Rhaenys is a Targaryen dragon rider. She probably just came back from a dragon ride wearing those pants. So she's got a hell of a lot more going on than what they've shown so far. One other notable tidbit that happens in this scene when they first meet each other in the throne room at Driftmark, there, Viserys and Lionel Strong are given the news about Rhea Royce and her untimely, accidental, air quotes, death. Viserys, never thinking the worst of his brother, just responds like, oh, that's real sad. What an accident. But you can tell that Lionel Strong's like, oh, shit, he really did it. Oh, shit. Then next scene, we have Alicent out in the weirwood tree place in King's Landing, which by all rights should not really exist, but I'll allow them this because it connects the new show to the old show. She's approached by the club-footed man that we saw last episode. What could it mean? Little brother of Lionel Strong, the Hand of the King. He's there basically to pass along a tidbit of information, and he does it all little fingery, without directly saying it, but he basically makes his message clear that Rhaenyra got a morning after pill the night of the big Daemon return. As I said before, they haven't really been featured that big, but you want to keep an eye on how strong. And my question is he there being nefarious at his own initiative, or did his brother Lionel actually send him? Lionel is the older brother. Lionel is the Hand of the King. He is the head of the family. And up till now, like I said before, he's kind of been the bro for King Viserys. He's been always there with good advice and everything. Is he a little bit more mastermindy than we've all kind of given him credit for to this point? We will have to find out. Then we go down to a nice little stroll on the beach. You have Rhaenyra and her husband-to-be, Laenor. What's made clear in this scene is that, and they're making it clear to the audience too, because they really have not been explicit or shown this in any way. But Rhaenyra says, I know you're gay. You know you're gay. I'm not. We're about to get married. Guess what? Good situation for the both of us. I'm not going to be a bitch about you being gay. You're not going to be a bitch about me getting my own on the side. This will work out really well for the both of us. In this tough situation that we've both been kind of shuffled into by our families, we can make the best of it. Then, kind of building off this new information, you see Laenor's parent, Rhaenys and Corlys, having a little chat after their meeting with the king, where they both basically acknowledge that they know their son's gay, but foist him into this marriage and everybody will be happy and our descendants and lineage will be secure for the next 100 years or what have you. So it's kind of interesting that Corlys really didn't want to admit it. Rhaenys was kind of like, bro, dude, come on, he's gay. And during their conversation, Corlys, he's a good husband. He's bolstering his wife. He's given the compliments. He says, by all rights, you should have been the ruler. And let's think about that. I mean, she's the one that this show has put forward as the loser of Jaehaerys' council. They call her the queen that never was. take a minute to think about what would happen if this strong, tough, dragon-riding badass of a woman would have been the ruler of the realm, as opposed to Viserys, dithering, weak, people pleaser. Maybe the shit that's coming down wouldn't be coming down if Rhaenys was on the throne. So think about that for a little bit. Then, for purposes which come up later on in the episode, they make a point of saying, this is Laenor and this is his gay companion. So they have a cute little scene with them on the beach talking about their futures together, and Leonor's assuring him that, she's cool, I'm cool, you're cool, everybody's cool with this marriage. Everything's cool. This worked out well. I wonder if that's going to be the case in the end. Then we have, on the boat ride back from Driftmark, they did not stay long, Criston Cole professing his love for Rhaenyra, saying, run off with me. I've already broken my vows for you. Let me just cast aside this white cloak. You run off with me. We'll go to Essos and live forever.
I gotta get out of here pronto. I got a stage 5 clinger.
She says, sounds nice, sounds cute. I really dig you and all, but I have a purpose. I have a crown. And more importantly, and I love how they included this, she actually says that she has a bigger charge than even being the ruler.
I'm going to conquer, united, 7 kingdoms, and put them on a path.
She's referring to, of course, the Song of Ice and Fire. She's bought into the prophecy. She knows she's there for a reason. So however much she wanted to run off with the hunky, dreamy Kendall dude, she can't do it. She's got a world to save. And Criston does not take it well. You can see a lot of resentment burning up in his eyes. You can see a lot of, love and hatred, 2 sides of the same coin. It's not unheard of for passion to flip around and turn into hate, is it? It looks like he's got some real feelings on this situation that he's kind of keeping bottled up inside. One final note about not just this scene, but this whole episode. Both Rhaenyra and Alicent, just take a moment to soak in those actresses, their performances. They've done such a bang-up job. And the reason why I say that is because they, as actresses, are not long for this show. They're going to be replaced sometime very, very soon. Then we have a little bit of a wacky misunderstanding. It's not actually wacky. It's actually really serious and tragic. In hunting down the truth of whether or not Rhaenyra did Daemon, acting on Larys Strong's thinly veiled hints and clues, Alicent feeling betrayed because up till now, she believed her. She believed Rhaenyra. Here she is on the trail of the clues, and she figures, hey, easiest way to do this is let's get her sworn man, her sworn protector, Criston Cole. He knows what's going on. He was there. He was around that night. Let's call him in and find out if Rhaenyra actually did fuck her uncle. Is she an uncle fucker? Criston, after the conversation with Rhaenyra on the boat, he's feeling horrible. The fact that his vows have been broken and the weight of that white cloak is just pounding on him. It's bearing him down. And so he immediately confesses, yeah, you're right. You're 100% right. She did fuck around that night. I broke my vows. I'm so sorry. Alicent is like, oh shit, that's who the moon tea was for? I had no idea. She was going for one angle and got something completely different. It was not at all what she was looking for. And how should she feel about this? Her whole feelings of betrayal and distrust of Rhaenyra were based on the fact that she was screwing her uncle, what Alicent and people of Westeros in general consider an abomination. The fact that she was just kind of getting her fuck on with her guard, Alicent's not exactly opposed to that. And I think she actually has like a measure of relief that, okay, Rhaenyra lied to me, but she wasn't fucking her uncle. So it's really not that bad. And so still kind of flabbergasted at this new information, she lets Criston Cole off. Take a walk, dude. I'm going to save this information for later. Criston Cole, you got to give it up for him. He was ready to be gelded and or killed. In fact, when he just outright confessed, he figured it was going to be one or the other. And shit, dude. Yeah, he was confused as shit when he was excused by the queen after confessing. So that was kind of a fun little scene. And now it's wedding time. Weddings go really well in Game of Thrones. Let's look at Khal Drogo's wedding to Daenerys. Only like 5 or 6 people died at that one. Then you have the Red Wedding. That was a joyous affair for all involved. As we see the entire realm flocking to King's Landing for the wedding, you see all the ships coming, which looks kind of cool, but the scene is kicked off by the dragons. Big red dragon, big silvery gray looking dragon. The silvery gray looking dragon probably looks familiar to you because that's Sea Smoke. That is Laenor's dragon. We saw him tearing shit up on the stepstones. The red dragon, who could that be? That is actually Malys, known as the Red Queen. That is the dragon of Rhaenys Targaryen. When I said earlier that she was wearing the pants because she was probably out riding her dragon, that's her dragon. So that's your first look at the Red Queen. Pretty fucking cool. So here we have this wedding, and again, as the king and princess are meeting people, they make sure to have a little moment for Jason Lannister. As he's walking to the table, you can see Rhaenyra rolling her eyes, basically getting some digs in on him before dismissing him. That was kind of funny. And then finally, you get the announcement that House Valerion is in the house, looking like a bunch of badasses, striding in, the whole family. They came there for a purpose. They're ready to take what's due their family. Oh, and not to be outdone, if you thought that was a real portentous, momentous entrance, here comes Daemon. Daemon, fresh off of killing his wife. Instant looks from the crowd, especially the representative of House Royce. You can tell he's got some thoughts in his head about Daemon's presence there. Some suspicions, perhaps. Then Viserys is given his big welcome to my daughter's wedding speech, and Alicent chooses that time to interrupt and make her big entrance. You get a little bit of expository back and forth between the Strong brothers, letting the audience know what's going on. Alicent wearing green. That is a big thing. So that gives you a clue to Alicent's mindset. The time that she chose to enter, the outfit she's wearing. And eventually there's going to be two sides known as the Greens and the Blacks. This is kind of where the Greens get their name from. Then you have Rhaenyra and Laenor having their wedding dance. I guess it's a pre-wedding dance. They do the reception ahead of time, apparently, before the actual ceremony. But during this whole scene, it was just masterfully done because they're showing the people on the periphery watching them dance, thoughts spinning in their head, eyes working the room. You see Kristen Cole. It does not look like he's holding his shit together very well. You have Mr. Lawnmouth. I think it's Jeffrey Lawnmouth, who is the redheaded boy toy of Lena Valerion. He's got some thoughts on the whole situation of the marriage. You have the proud moms and dads. They're all doing some calculating in their eyes, except for Viserys. He's not really calculating. He's got that fatherly look that most fathers have on the day their daughters get married. But then again, Viserys never was really known for being a deep, scheming, thinker type person. Daemon, he's got some thoughts on the situation. The Strongs, they got some thoughts. Alicent has this really fatalistic, forlorn, just stare at the two of them dancing. Because, I mean, what she's seeing happen in front of her, she is now convinced is the eventual death of her children. These two getting married means that shit's changing. Nothing's ever going to be the same for her. So their dance is over. It's time to get, I don't know if it's the Westerosi version of the chicken dance or the electric slide or whatever, but everybody takes the dance floor and people start maneuvering. Alicent gets up from the table, goes over and meets with her uncle, the head of House Hightower. And he, thinly veiled, says, way to go, way to be strong, we got your back. So they know what's coming. And they're letting Alicent know that they know that she knows that they know what's coming. And you'll notice the Kingsguard sprinkled throughout the room, guarding the kings and all the royalty and everything. Kristen Cole, for some reason, is the only one with his helmet off. Why does he have his helmet off? He's not like the lead of them. He's not Lord Captain Marshal or whatever the fuck it's called. But of course, we do need to see his facial reactions and the fact that he's having some real emotional turmoil. Then we get Daemon confronted at the table in front of the king by Lord Gerald Royce. He is an in-law of Daemon, at least until his wife was killed in that horrible riding accident. And he just outright says, I know what you did. You will pay at some point. Blah, blah, blah. Daemon cuts through the accusation real quick by saying, everything that my wife owned now passes to me. I'm going to come check out my holdings in the very near future, and maybe I'll meet up with you, too, while I'm there. So homeboy goes scampering off, scared as shit, and probably rethinking his whole idea of confronting Daemon. And as cool as that exchange was, the most interesting thing about it is the side looks. You see Viserys suddenly giving Daemon. Despite laying down the law a couple times on Daemon in the past few years, he usually thinks the best of his brother. He's unwilling to think of him as he really is. And for the first time since hearing of Rhea Royce's death, You can see Viserys looking at him going, oh shit, did that happen? It was just interesting seeing the look on Viserys' face when he actually tumbled to the fact that I think he fucking did it. Then instantly you can see Daemon worrying that not enough people are paying attention to him, and he hates that. So what would get the goat of his niece the most? So he scans the room and he sees Lena Valerion sitting over there looking fine as hell. And he's like, all right, let me give her a little look. And Lena picks up immediately on what he's throwing down. And her being a teenage girl, she's looking to cause some shit. So let's go dance. Then you have Cabana Boy Joffrey Lawnmouth coming up to Laenor and saying, I figured it out. I looked around at all the glances everybody was given in the last few minutes, and I figured out who the paramour of Rhaenyra is. And this guy's giving off the energy of, this is a little bit of a callback, but think about Braveheart. King Longshanks, he had that son that was really, really effeminate, and he had that really, really effeminate boyfriend that the king just basically threw out the window as soon as the guy started like talking too much in his presence. He just tossed his ass out the window. This guy's giving off that energy. And much like that guy in Braveheart did, stepping up to the king and talking when he damn well should have kept his mouth shut, you have the same exact situation here happening here where Joffrey Lawnmouth takes the opportunity to step up to Kristen Cole. I don't know if he was trying to make a power play. I don't know if he was trying to secure his own place as one of the two royal mistresses or misters. You get the feeling that dude should have kept his goddamn mouth shut. Kristen does not look good right now. And shortly before Daemon walks up and cuts in on Rhaenyra and her dance partner, let's take a look at who her dance partner is. That's Harwin Strong. That's one of the Strong brothers. He was the one that was about creaming his pants when he saw Rhaenyra walking into the camp with all the boar blood all over her. And Daemon pulls Rhaenyra off to the side and basically is doing what he does. He's edgelording it up, and he doesn't like that Rhaenyra doesn't seem to be paying attention to him anymore. Does he actually love her? Does he want to marry her? I don't know. I think it's more that he just feels like he's not getting his fair share of attention from her. She should be paying attention to him. She should be pining over him. And the fact that Rhaenyra is out there on the dance floor looking happy with her new gay husband, soon-to-be gay husband, he doesn't like that at all. And of course, Viserys, this whole time, struggling with cutting up a piece of friggin' squab or quail or whatever it is. And he was missing 2 fingers a couple episodes ago. And earlier, when Corlys and him met in the Driftmark throne room, you saw his cousin, Rhaenys, coming up to shake his hand. And when she did, he obviously was like, ow, ooh, that hurts. I swear he didn't have more than like 1 or 2 actual fingers in that glove at the time. You could see those fingers compress. He's falling apart. It's all coming apart at the seams, and he can't even cut his chicken. He's having trouble cutting his chicken. Why doesn't his wife help him cut his chicken? No, I'm kidding. That would be a very unmanly thing. But he's watching this whole thing go down. He's watching him talk, and he's got that look on his face like, what the fuck are y'all doing? And during their conversation, Rhaenyra, you get the impression that she's not actually saying, take me away, take me away. She's calling him on his bullshit. She's like, I see you for what you are, you little edgelord bitch boy. You know, you've been talking all this shit. So quit talking and actually do something, you punk ass bitch, knowing full well that he's not going to. I think it was her basically just calling him out on his bullshit. Then the required wedding fight kicks off, and they did this really, really well, where they don't actually show what's happening for like a good 3 to 5 minutes. They show the crowd bustling about. They show the kings and all the guests sitting up on the high throne trying to get a look at what's going on, and also scared, escaping the room. Everybody in the outside of the crowd jostling. They show tiny little Rhaenyra getting pushed about. They show Laenor getting pushed about. What could possibly be going on? Oh my God, where's Daemon? Did he kick some shit off? Did she actually take Rhaenyra at his word and start cutting people up? I wonder what could possibly be happening. And finally, as this is happening, we see what the fight seemed to be about. It seemed to blow up with Kristen Cole and Mr. Lawnmouth and Laenor. We see Christian beat the ever-loving shit out of Joffrey Lawnmouth. The only thing I have a real problem with about this whole scene is he punches him with his right hand in the skull and in the face 30 odd times. And then later on in the episode, we see Kristen Cole using his right hand with no issues. You can't do that. You can't hit somebody in the face 30 fucking times and have a functioning hand. His hand would be pulped, much like Joffrey Lawnmouth's face was in a really gross, violent reveal. Guess Lawnmouth really shouldn't have been fucking with him, huh? Shouldn't have been coming up to him at the party when he's trying to do his job and start spouting off to him. Much like Braveheart. Interestingly enough, after this scene, there's no direct fallout. Kristen Cole is still walking around free. You think he would have been either arrested or had to account for why, as a Kingsguard doing his duty, he felt the need to pummel a man to shit and start a big giant riot in the middle of the princess's wedding. But no, he's walking around free afterwards. I think I could use an explanation on exactly why that's the case. And speaking of walking around free, he's had some real, psychic damage this whole episode. The past couple episodes, really. All starting when he broke his vows with Rhaenyra. He was ready to offer himself up for gelding or execution earlier in the episode, and now he knows he fucked up. He broke all his vows. He's a big mess, and he's trying to salvage it by being an honorable knight by killing himself in front of the weirwood tree. But he's saved by a voice that calls his name. Who could it be? It's Alicent. Alicent, who's been starting to think strategically, who's this very episode starting to position herself and the people around her because she's actually got an idea of what's coming. She needs strong pieces on the board, people who are motivated to fight with her. I wonder what a really good choice for her to pick would be. Maybe the disgraced knight, probably the best fighter in the realm. What an interesting move by Alicent. And the episode ends with the actual wedding itself. All the guests have cleared out. Viserys is just like, fuck it. I'm dying. Just do this shit. The 5-6 people in the room. Do we have enough people here for witnesses? Okay, do it. So they get it done. They are officially married. And as the camera pulls back, you actually see that the blood and brains of Jeffrey Lonmouth are still on the floor. Rat shows up. I wonder what the rat could be heralding. All right, so that was the entire episode. I think, as I said at the beginning of this was by far the best one. Shit is starting to kick off. People are starting to position themselves and their pieces. Everybody's getting into starting places for the Dance of the Dragons. Up till now, we have not seen the dragons dancing. It's definitely been a slow burn, a slow build the past few episodes. Intriguing, well done, and I've loved every second of it, but it has been a definite building process. Well, guess what, ladies and gentlemen? The wait is over.